I'm getting older. Do I need to worry about falling?
Yes, you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for...
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know that I did. Went and saw a movie, picked up a new book to read. Just so many great things happened. The Colts played football yesterday, sat down on the couch, had a great time watching that. And then the game ended, and my weekend got very interesting from that point forward. And, you know, there's a reporter here in Indy. His name's James Boyd. He will post clips from press conferences. Okay, that's part of the job. That's cool. I, as someone who wants to hear what different players for the Colts, different coaches for the Colts say, greatly appreciate it. And so, I'm on Twitter yesterday, scrolling after the Colts game, just curious what the average fan's thoughts are, because obviously I had thoughts. I got a whole notebook filled with thoughts based off of the small amount of plays that we saw from Anthony Richardson in this Colts offense and this Colts defense. And, I'm scrolling through Twitter. James Boyd posted a video of Anthony Richardson. Didn't listen to it. Didn't really need to, though, because when you saw the video, Anthony Richardson is standing there at the podium, representing not only himself, but the entire Colts organization. And he's standing there with his visor on, upside down, and backwards, which I'm not a fan of. Okay, I grew up playing baseball. I didn't like it I still don't like it when baseball players wear their hats backwards. Okay, like they're designed to be worn forwards. I think it looks better. You look nicer. And usually I don't really care about these things. I really don't. Okay, like you can, like when you're out on the town with your guys, going out, doing whatever, if you want to wear your visor upside down and backwards, cool. Go right ahead. I didn't care that Anthony Richardson wore his visor upside down and backwards during his sideline interview. But when you're at the podium, you need to put it on straight. Presentation is important. Now, if you're watching the live stream, you're like, Jonathan, you're in an athletic shirt right now. What are you talking about? Presentation is important. So look, I work in radio. It's really nice. I can wear pretty much whatever I want, which is really, really nice. But here's the thing. About a month back, I had a day where I had to present something to our wonderful sales team here at Cumulus. If you want to advertise on the station, get in contact with them. They will hook you up. So I had to go in. I had to just kind of tell them who I was, because let's be honest, they didn't really know who I was because I was new. And I can tell you right now, I did not walk in there with a t-shirt and gym shorts. I walked in there with nice pants on and a nice shirt. I cut my hair the night before. I trimmed my eyebrows. I wanted to be sure that when I represented myself, that they were seeing the best version of me. I dressed way nicer that day than what I normally do, because I believe that it is important when you're in a prominent position, for example, quarterback of an NFL franchise, future franchise quarterback, when you hold that title, it is important to present yourself in a put-together manner, because you aren't just representing yourself. Okay? You're representing your entire organization. When Anthony Richardson speaks at the podium after games, really whenever, he represents the entire Colts team because he's the quarterback. Okay? And I just believe that when you represent something bigger than yourself, you should put your best foot forward. I think that you should dress nice. I think that you should wear your hat forwards if you wear one. I do. I think Shane Steichen should do the exact same thing, because when you represent something bigger than yourself, you should put your best foot forward. It is important. Presentation matters. I am 24 years old. Okay? Now, obviously to get this job, I had to interview and do all those things. If I had walked into my boss's office with a resume that didn't have very much on it, because I'm 24 years old, I haven't been doing this super long. But if I walked in there and I had a backwards hat on, I asked him before I even got on the air if he would have given me a job. He said you wouldn't have even gotten into the room. The way that you present yourself matters, especially when you represent something more than just yourself. If Anthony Richardson played wide receiver, I wouldn't give a rip how he wore his hat. Because let's be honest, we don't care that much about what wide receivers have to say. If he played left tackle, wouldn't care. Wear your hat backwards. Okay? Because when it comes to left tackles and wide receivers and really the non-quarterback position, what you say just doesn't carry as much weight. Just like how if a teacher makes a statement about a school that she works at, it doesn't carry as much weight as if the principal says it. Okay? Because what your position is impacts the weight and how important you are. It's just the way that it is. Okay? Quarterbacks are different, just like how CEOs are different. Okay, if somebody walked in and they had an idea for a new startup and they wanted you to invest and they came in and they looked sloppy, they weren't put together, you wouldn't want to invest in that company. You'd be like, I'm good. You guys don't seem very, very well put together. And you'd be like, I'm good. I think I'll save my money. It's the exact same thing with quarterbacks, especially when you're 22 years old and you haven't done anything. Seriously, like let's look at the history of Anthony Richardson. It's not like he's won 100 games, okay? He was fine at Florida, okay? He wasn't drafted because he was great in college. He was drafted because he has a lot of physical tools, okay? And then look, from what we saw from him last year, it wasn't great. Barely completed 60% of his passes. You have to round up in order to get to that number, okay? The 12 quarters that we saw from him weren't exactly impressive. Okay, he hasn't done anything. So it becomes all the more important to present yourself in a proper manner. When I sent out the tweet yesterday where I basically said that I was out on Anthony Richardson because he wore his visor upside down and backwards, got a lot of hate, which is fine. You know, I kind of figured that was what was going to happen. Anytime you say something negative about any franchise's quarterback, whether it's the Colts, Chiefs, 49ers, Dolphins, whoever, that fan base is going to get riled up and upset at you, which is fine. That's just kind of the way that it goes. And based off of what I said, I started getting all these comments, right? And there's photos in there of Tom Brady with his hat backwards and Matthew Stafford with his hat backwards. And, there's Patrick Mahomes with his visor backwards. And people are like, what about these guys? Here's the thing. There comes a point in everyone's career, hopefully, where you have so much success that it doesn't really matter what you do. Okay, the 22-year-old new employee can't get away with as much as the guy who's been there for 15 years and is uber successful. That's just the reality of the world that we live in. So when it comes to guys like Tom Brady wearing a backwards hat, well, that guy has won 7 Super Bowls. He can do whatever he wants. Okay, I very much equate that to someone like Jeff Bezos. If Jeff Bezos wants to do a press conference without a shirt on for whatever reason, he can do that because he's Jeff Bezos and he is wildly successful. Okay, the more success you have, the more leniency you get. When you're Anthony Richardson and you haven't really done anything, you don't get very much leniency. Okay, the same thing goes for all these rookie quarterbacks. Okay, if J.J. McCarthy wore a backwards hat at the podium, I would say the exact same thing. It is important when you represent more than just yourself to put a good foot forward. And a backwards and upside down visor doesn't exactly do that, especially after you just went 2 for 4 in a preseason game against a not very good Broncos team. Okay. Now, I want to talk about the actual game now. I want to move off of the backwards hat thing because, let's be honest, the Colts didn't exactly look great yesterday. At least I didn't think that they did. I didn't think Anthony Richardson looked that great yesterday. Then again, he only played 2 drives, only played 7 plays, which isn't very many. If he'd played better, then, we probably would have seen a little bit more from him. 2 drives, 4 pass attempts. He completed 2 of them for 25 yards. We didn't see a ton, to be fair. There were some good moments. There were some bad moments. But then again, what else do you expect from a guy that hasn't played a game in 308 days? Okay, that first possession that the Colts had in that preseason game was uglier than Jabba the Hutt, okay? Jonathan Taylor, first play, runs for 2 yards. Then Anthony Richardson didn't identify a blitz. incomplete pass. Then on third down, with plenty of time to throw. I mean, he had all day. I thought that the starting offensive line looked pretty good yesterday. Third down, 3rd and 8, plenty of time to throw, and he had a guy open, threw it so inaccurately that it should have been intercepted. It wasn't. Whoever the defensive back for the Broncos was dropped it. He didn't look very good. Then the second possession comes around, and he looked a lot better. Anthony Richardson did, and he should have, because he couldn't have looked any worse after that first possession. The second possession comes out. He has a nice completion to Mo Ali Cox for a first down. Right. Then on third down, later on in the drive, he had Granson wide open. Okay. But he was late and he threw it behind him. And that slight inaccuracy costed them a first down. Like I said, there was some good, there was some bad, but I would argue that it was mostly bad. Okay. He has to be better. Look, I'll be honest. If he'd come out, actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. I almost said something that would have been a lie. And I don't do that. Okay. Look, if you want to wear your hat backwards and you want to wear your visor upside down and all that fun stuff, go win first. Okay? Because that gives you length. It gives you some rope. Like I said, I don't care that Matthew Stafford does it because he's won a Super Bowl and he was awesome in Detroit for a long time. I don't care that Patrick Mahomes wears his backwards because he's won 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. Same thing with Tom Brady. If Tom Brady wants to call games for Fox with a backwards hat on in the booth, he can do that. Because he's won 7 Super Bowls. Who you are, what you've accomplished matters. And when you haven't accomplished as much as, your peers, then you should put your best foot forward every opportunity that you get, whether that's standing at the podium and, answering questions, whether that's at practice, whatever it is. Okay? It is important to present yourself well. Okay? Because when you're the quarterback of a franchise, you don't just represent yourself. You represent everybody. Moving off of Anthony Richardson, I want to get to the rest of the Indianapolis Colts and what we saw from them yesterday. I thought that the defensive line from the Colts yesterday was awesome. I thought that the defensive line was really good. Tyquan Lewis played great. I felt like every time he was on the field, he was beating the offensive tackle. He was getting into the backfield and applying some sort of pressure. Okay, Tyquan Lewis yesterday was really good. And look, I talked about this a couple weeks ago when Ibukam went down with the torn Achilles. It was terrible. People were freaking out. But Chris Ballard has done a good job at accumulating defensive line depth, and we saw it on full display in that preseason game. The Denver Broncos have a good offensive line, finished top 10 in the NFL last year, according to PFF. Okay, so they have good tackles. They have good offensive guards. And seeing this defensive line, especially the edge rushers, Tyquan Lewis, I thought Leatu Latu was good. He's already seeing double teams in his first preseason game. That's pretty nuts. Those 2 guys in particular, I thought really stood out on the defensive front. With that being said, as good as the edge rushers were, those defensive tackles, man, it was rough. Raekwon Davis is needed. Grover Stewart, I thought was good. DeForest Buckner didn't play yesterday. He's not going to see the field during the preseason because we know who DeForest Buckner is. Okay, and he's an absolute beast. So, but those backup defensive tackles, once you get past Buckner, Raekwon Davis, and Grover Stewart, man, it's slim pickings, especially in the run game. When they took those guys out, the Broncos ran the football all over the field. All over the field. Okay, now I want to get to the secondary. I thought that the linebackers were fine. Zaire Franklin's a good player. EJ Speed's a good player. I want to talk about the secondary because that has been a major talking point for the Colts throughout this preseason. Who's going to play free safety? Who's going to be the second corner? And we got a good look at both backup corners yesterday, or guys competing for corner number 2 between Jalen Jones and Dallas Flowers, because Juju Brents, who's probably going to be corner number 1, he didn't play yesterday. He's got, he's a little banged up. That's what the Colts said. They said if it had been a regular season game, he would have played. And I just got to say, Dallas Flowers looked terrible. He looked awful. Jalen Jones, on the other hand, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked way better than Dallas Flowers did. And going back to what I said a couple weeks ago, the success of this Indianapolis Colts defense is directly reliant upon this defensive line. If they can generate pressure, if they can generate holding penalties, and all those things, then this Colts defense is going to be good. But every down, every pass attempt where the Colts didn't get pressure felt like a big chunk play for the Denver Broncos. Okay, that secondary is rough, and I've got more on that when we come back here in about 4 minutes. This is the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket.
The best takes, stories, and entertainment. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Just wrapped up talking about Anthony Richardson's upside down and backwards visor, just not very quarterbacky. I like it when my quarterbacks present themselves well. Sue me. Now, I want to transition to something I think we can all get behind. Team USA, men's team and women's team, congratulations. Both beating France to win the gold medal. Let's be honest. We run the world when it comes to basketball, and it's great. I've talked about this, a little bit here on my show every day from 10 to noon. I love basketball. It's my favorite sport. Okay. I watch it all the time. I watched a lot of Team USA because it's Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. Okay, the three best basketball players of my generation. And these last two games, the game against Serbia was amazing. The gold medal game was, almost just as good as the game against Serbia. It was incredible. Okay. And, like I said, I had an absolute blast. And let's start with Steph Curry, because we have to start with Steph Curry. The best shooter ever, the best point guard ever. When Team USA needed him the most, he showed up. He was so terrible, awful, horrendous, whatever adjective you want to use there, to start the Olympics. He was awful in those first four games. Okay, in Steph Curry's first four games in the red, white, and blue in Paris, he scored 29 points on 5 of 20 shooting from three-point land. That does not exactly reflect the skills of the best shooter ever and the best point guard ever. Then, in a close game against Serbia, he went absolutely nuts. In a game against Serbia, where no one else could score, everyone else was struggling, Steph Curry showed up and single-handedly kept Team USA in that game. He went absolutely crazy. Then, in the gold medal game, he just continued. He just continued to shoot lights out. In the final 2 minutes, he put France away. It was incredible. In the final two games that Steph Curry played in the Olympics, he scored 60 points on 17 of 26 shooting from three. He rebounded the ball decently well. And that's just who he is. As I have sat back and as I have watched Team USA in the Olympics, 99% of my attention when it came to Team USA has been on Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant, because this is the only time we're ever going to get to see these three guys play together. I guess they could all play again in 2028 in LA. I know LeBron says that that's a no from him, but hey, man, he's still going strong at 39 years old. Something tells me he can still play for another 4 years. Okay, but watching this run, I feel like the performance each of these three guys have had, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and LeBron James, I feel like their Olympic performances have also reflected their careers. Let me elaborate on that. Kevin Durant, when we think back on this Olympics, I believe that there are two things that are going to stick out in our minds when we think about this Olympic basketball team and the events that transpired over the course of the tournament. Kevin Durant closed out Serbia with great isolation scoring, catches the ball, top of the key. Joel Embiid runs over. Hey, man, let me set you a screen. Kevin Durant waves him off. He's like, nah, man, I'm the best scorer ever. I don't need a ball screen to score on this dude from Serbia. Catches the ball, dribbles twice, crossover, fadeaway jumper, money. We'll see you later, Serbia. Have fun with your bronze medal. Congrats to Serbia, by the way. Big Jokic fan over here. And so we're going to remember that moment from Kevin Durant. And we will also remember the fact that in this Olympics, he became the leading scorer in Team USA basketball history, men or women's. Okay, when we look back on this tournament, we're going to remember Kevin Durant and his ability to score the basketball. This Olympic run for Kevin Durant was all about his ability to score the basketball, very much like his career. Okay, when it comes to Kevin Durant's career and we think about him on the floor as a basketball player, okay, we're going to, obviously remember the decision to go play for Golden State. Okay, we're going to remember him leaving and going to Brooklyn and that not going well and the foot on the line, and now he's in Phoenix. We're going to remember that he bounced around, but we're also going to remember his prolific scoring ability. That's how Kevin Durant will be remembered. When it comes to Steph Curry, throughout his career, he got hot at the right time in the biggest games, in the biggest moments. And guess what happened in these Olympics? Stephen Curry got hot at the right time and in the biggest moments of these Olympics. Okay. And that's what we're going to remember about Steph Curry. We're going to remember the nights where he's, I think everyone remembers the play that he made against the Clippers where he hits a fadeaway three over like three defenders after dribbling in and out of everybody. I think that from this Olympics, the play that we're going to remember, the play that's been etched into our memory, is Steph Curry double teamed in the gold medal match. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, two of the best basketball players ever, wide open, not a guy within 15 feet of him. Stephen Curry double teamed. No, let me hold on to the basketball and take a sidestep three over two guys way taller than me. Oh, and let me make it to put the final dagger in France. Okay, what we've seen from Steph Curry, I think, in this Olympic run, fully represents how we're going to remember his career. Hot at the right time, played his best in the biggest games. And then we come to LeBron James, who is the second greatest basketball player of all time, behind the one and only Michael Jordan. LeBron James was consistently great in every game played during the Olympics. He didn't have a bad game. He didn't. Triple-double against Serbia, against France, whenever the offense lulled, who scored the basketball? LeBron James did. Okay, LeBron James has been lowering his shoulder and getting to the rim whenever he wants for his entire life. Okay, and we saw that time and time again in that gold medal game against France when the Team USA offense was stalled. Okay, but here's the thing. There's not a LeBron James moment in these Olympics. Okay, there's not a game winner. There's not a play that really, truly sticks out in your mind. He was just great for 6 straight games. Very much like his career. When we look at LeBron James and we look at, the course of his long, luxurious career, right? Because he's been awesome ever since he stepped foot into the league. Outside of the block on Iguodala in 2016, he really doesn't have that many memorable moments. I remember the game winner he hit against the Magic to kind of keep the series alive. They ended up losing that series, way, way, way long ago. Right? He doesn't have any super memorable moments from this Olympic run either. Like I said, he was just great for 6 straight games. And everyone's going to have the whole Michael Jordan, LeBron James GOAT debate thing. I heard Kendrick Perkins saying dumb things earlier, saying that, LeBron James having more Olympic gold medals than Michael Jordan makes him the greatest player of all time. I think that's ridiculous. Okay? Because if Michael Jordan wanted a 3rd gold medal, he could have played in the Olympics for a 3rd time. He just chose not to. Okay? But I do also believe when it comes to this GOAT debate and this GOAT argument, having memorable moments is highly, highly important. Right? Because let's be honest, not everyone memorizes 1,000,001 stats. We don't. We remember how guys look and we remember how guys play in the biggest moments. Okay? And we remember specific plays. And when it comes to Michael Jordan, there's 1,000,001 specific plays that we remember. The shot against Cleveland. Right? We remember, obviously, the final shot of his as a Bull where he hits the step back in Game 6 of the finals in 1998. Okay, we remember he's going to the rim, against the Lakers in the finals, and he goes up with the left hand, pulls it down, switches hands in midair, and finishes on the right side of the rim. We remember these incredibly memorable moments from Michael Jordan. And when it comes to LeBron James, we just don't remember that. And I think that, in 5, 10, 15 years, we're going to look back. I'm going to be at, brunch with my buddies. And, we're going to be talking about, the 2024 Summer Olympics and how awesome it was to see Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. And when we're reminiscing and remembering all the great things that happened, we're not going to talk about LeBron James. We're going to talk about the shot that Steph Curry hit, and we're going to talk about the shot that Kevin Durant hit against Serbia. Those are the 2 things that we're going to remember. And so LeBron James is great, and I think we fully saw that on display. I just wish he had some sort of wildly memorable moment. I also think then when we look back on these Olympics, we're going to remember young Victor Wembanyama and how great he was in the gold medal game. I really do. And I think that we're going to be like, geez, like that was really kind of the launching point for his career. And, I talked about this a little bit on Friday. I'm going to continue to discuss it here. A lot of people missed out on Wemby this year because the Spurs were terrible. Okay, they won 21 games. Who wants to watch a horrific Spurs team that only won 21 games, right? And so, people were infatuated with him early. They're watching him, but the Spurs were losing. So they're like, we'll watch him later, I guess. But, not me. I really liked watching Wemby. I watched him play a lot this year. And game number 81 really stuck out, right? Where he plays Jokic and he scores 17 points in 3 minutes. And, I kind of gave a bit of a warning on Friday that is something that Victor Wembanyama is completely and totally capable of. Okay, like he has games where he is the best player on the floor. Now, he was not the best player on the floor on Saturday. If he had been, then France would have won that game. But he still played well. He scored 26 points on 11 of 19 shooting. He knocked down threes, pulled down 7 rebounds. And even though he didn't have any blocks, he was still the most impactful defender on the floor for either team. The fact that he didn't win Defensive Player of the Olympics, they gave it to some guy who plays for Serbia, is absurd. Okay, just watching the length and the athleticism of Wemby consistently deter shots at the rim is wildly impressive. And the scary part is this is the worst that he's going to be. He is only going to get better. Okay, now guys that are that tall and long and skinny usually don't have the healthiest career, so hopefully he can stay healthy. Because if he does, he's going to be an absolute problem. And he holds himself, based off of every interview that I've heard, he's not a backwards hat guy. Based off of every interview I've seen and heard of him, he holds himself to a high standard. He works hard, and he wants to be great. He cried when they lost to Team USA. Okay, which, it's like, yeah, of course he lost. It's a gold medal match. He wanted to win, all those things. It's true, but here's the other thing. You don't cry unless you expect to win. He fully thought that France was going to beat Team USA. Team USA with LeBron James and Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. He legitimately thought that they had a chance, which speaks to the confidence that he has in himself. And it speaks to the standard that he holds himself to. Okay? The dude clearly works hard and he clearly cares. Okay, and I'm not a big fan of all the NBA player podcasts, but there are some tidbits here and there that are good and noteworthy. I have heard on multiple occasions NBA players go on different podcasts or host their own podcasts or whatever and say that there are guys in the NBA who are just there collecting a check. They don't care about playing basketball. They just want to get paid a lot, and they want all the perks that come with being an NBA player. Okay, which is cool. Like, I'm sure that there are people in, other professions that do the exact same thing. And Wembanyama doesn't really seem like that kind of guy, which is a scary thing. All right, he's going to get in the gym. He's going to come back way better. The Spurs are really young. I hate what their front office is doing because Wemby's ready to win right now. That was evident at about the midway point last year. The fact that he's already the best defender in the NBA, I think, speaks to the fact that he can anchor a defense right now, and that can propel the Spurs into this kind of winning mode. I like that they drafted Stephon Castle. I like that they're bringing in Chris Paul. Like, they've got guys around him now who are hopefully going to give him the ball. That was the Spurs' biggest issue last year. They were filled with guys who just wouldn't give Wemby the ball. And if you've got players on your team refusing to give the best player on the team the ball, that's kind of an issue. So, as impressive as Kevin Durant and Steph Curry and LeBron James were throughout this tournament, I do think that in 15 years, when we look back, we're going to view the 2024 Olympics as kind of this jumping off point for what's going to be the Victor Wembanyama era of the NBA. That kid is special, and I cannot wait to see how he develops. From one number 1 overall pick to another, Caleb Williams made his debut, his preseason debut. And I've got many, many thoughts on that when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Unadulterated sports talk with unfiltered takes. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, maybe you're watching live on Twitter. Follow me there at _ Jonathan Smith for great takes on backwards hats. You can also watch the live stream there as well. Make sure to follow the station at Ticket 1430 for updates on both my show, The Real Jonathan Smith Show, and the Dan Dockett Show, which follows mine from noon to 3. Maybe you're watching on YouTube. Head over there, Indies Sports Ticket. Subscribe. Join the chat. Join the conversation. Okay? Do all that fun stuff. You can also download that Indy Sports Ticket app wherever you get your apps, App Store, Google Play Store, wherever it is, or you can listen, if you're in the Indy area, in your car on 1430 AM or 99.5 HDMI 2. Don't ask me how to get to HDMI 2. I don't even know what that means. I'll be honest with you. But just wrapped up talking about Victor Wembanyama, Team USA, winning the gold, bringing it home, beating France. So great. Okay, now we can all go back to hating each other here in the United States now that the Olympics is over. Okay, but football season is also here, and from one first-round pick to the other is where I would like to go, transitioning from Victor Wembanyama to Caleb Williams, who made his debut on Friday, I believe it was, against the Buffalo Bills. And went back, watched the game, watched every snap that he took, and here's my takeaway. My takeaway is he's so much better than Justin Fields. Oh, my gosh. He's so much better. So much better. He looked so crisp. He just looked like he belonged. Okay? He stood in the pocket, surveyed the field, worked his way through progressions. He was 4 for 7 for 95 yards and a touchdown. Also had, a 13-yard scramble, which he slid beautifully. We like to see that. Okay? I like it when young athletic quarterbacks slide and run out of bounds. That's something that Anthony Richardson did right yesterday. When he scrambled, he ran out of bounds. But just seeing Caleb Williams on the field, I don't know how you can deny it. The kid is clearly special. Okay, and if you're just looking at the box score, you're like, oh, he was only 4 for 7. Should have been 6 for 7. He had 2 drops by his receivers, one from Cole Kmet and one from DJ Moore. He looked incredible. Okay, so much zip on the football whenever he was throwing it. Standing in the pocket, not leaving too early, not looking to run, being reliant on his arm. The little flip pass he made to DeAndre Swift while being tackled was impressive. He looked awesome. Okay? I've been on the Caleb Williams train really from the jump. Okay? The dude is, the physical talent is there, and he's amazing. And while I've been on it, the Justin Fields fan base, it's really small, but it's really loud. Okay, when I was sitting here, being like, the Bears should trade Justin Fields yesterday. Right? Because, Caleb Williams is there. I got so much pushback. Oh, Caleb Williams, he paints his fingernails. Oh, my goodness. How can he be the quarterback if he paints his fingernails? Heard a lot of that. I heard, but Justin Fields is so electric when he runs the ball. He just doesn't have the proper supporting cast. Heard all that stuff. And while Caleb Williams looked poised, confident, and like he belonged just from a very basic talent perspective, okay, like when he took off on that 13-yard scramble, he looked fast. He looked really good. Okay, watching him throw the ball on time, on target, with some zip. Okay, one of the plays he made, he stood in the pocket for 3 seconds, worked his way through all the progressions, came back to the left, and hit not even a wide open guy, a moderately open guy on a curl route. It was impressive. While he clearly belongs, I watched the Steelers play the Texans, and Justin Fields didn't look good. He looked really bad. Didn't look like he was in control. Seemed rushed, didn't seem comfortable. Justin Fields couldn't take a snap under center. And it's not like he's some rookie that's coming out of a college offense that ran everything out of the shotgun. This is his 3rd year in the NFL. And you can't take a snap from under center? What? Come on now. He had multiple botched snaps. He took multiple bad sacks that killed drives. Now, to be fair, he made a couple nice throws. He did. But the good, like, there wasn't enough good to outweigh the bad. Okay, especially when the idea around Justin Fields coming, during his time in Chicago and heading into his time in Pittsburgh is that he's just a little slow in processing things. Okay, and it wasn't very good. So congratulations to the Bears. You have your franchise quarterback for the next, 15 years or however long Caleb Williams wants to play football for. When it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, best of luck deciding between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You really don't have a good option. You really don't. So good luck to Pittsburgh. I do want to bounce around and talk about some of the other preseason NFL games that I watched over just the weekend because football's back and there's nothing like overreacting to preseason games. There's just nothing like it. Nothing like it whatsoever. Michael Penix Jr., he was the starter for the Falcons against the Dolphins on Saturday night. 9 for 16, 104 yards. I thought he looked fine. I didn't think he looked great. I didn't think he looked terrible. Okay, I think that they're doing the right thing in sitting him and allowing Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback. Okay, because, we've seen plenty of evidence from Kirk Cousins that, he's, probably the best quarterback in the NFC South. Okay, like Kirk Cousins is better than Baker Mayfield. He's better than Derek Carr or Spencer Rattler, who looked pretty good against the Cardinals yesterday, leading a game-winning drive. Okay, like the Falcons should be the odds-on favorite to win that division, and I think that they will. I think they'll win it pretty handily because, like I said, that division is horrendously bad. It's the worst division in football. Okay, so the Falcons, Michael Penix Jr. thought he looked good in the preseason, didn't seem overwhelmed, and that's really kind of what I want to see from young rookie quarterbacks, really just young quarterbacks who haven't played a lot in general. Okay, like you can usually tell when guys aren't comfortable. They're moving around a lot. They leave the pocket early. They've got happy feet. They're throwing the ball a little high. They're a little amped up. You can usually tell. And I will say, when it comes to the Colts and it comes to Anthony Richardson, I was not a fan of the accuracy that he showed. I was not a fan of the backwards and upside down visor that he wore in the press conference after the game. But I will say he did look comfortable. He, from a physical appearance, I mean, just look at the dude. Like he looks like he was born to play football in some way, shape, or form. He looked comfortable in the Colts offense, which is good. That's important for a guy that's, only got 84 passing attempts under his belt in the NFL, right? A guy who only played 12 quarters last year. All right. Even though I didn't like the backwards and upside down visor, I didn't like the accuracy. I will say he looked comfortable. And I think that's the first step for anybody in any profession. I think it's hard to be good, yet alone great, which is what you have to be as an NFL quarterback. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you have to be great. It's hard to be good, yet alone great in anything when you aren't comfortable. Okay. Now, look, I've got some pretty outlandish takes. Obviously, just follow me on Twitter at __ Jonathan Smith, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But when it comes to this job and being behind a microphone and addressing people, you have to be comfortable. When I first started, I wasn't, and I was very bad. I wasn't good. Okay, but over the last 6 months since I've started sitting in this chair, as I've gotten more comfortable, my thoughts come out a little bit better. I'm better at using words. Okay, because I'm comfortable. That is the first step to success in whatever job you have. Okay, so it was nice seeing Caleb Williams be comfortable. It was nice seeing Michael Penix be comfortable. It was concerning that Justin Fields didn't look comfortable playing for the Steelers in his third year. Okay, it was nice seeing Anthony Richardson look comfortable in that Colts offense. Okay, comfortability is important for quarterbacks. Same thing with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels looked so much better than what I thought he would. Okay, now, to be fair, he didn't play much. He only threw 3 passes. He was 2 for 3 for 45 yards. Okay, he had a rushing touchdown, though, which that's going to be a staple for him. Like he dropped back to pass, looked up and was like, oh, there's a linebacker. Let me just outrun him to the corner really quickly. Okay, so obviously the concern with Jaden Daniels is, the size, but Arm strength-wise, I thought he looked like he belonged. Speed-wise, he undoubtedly looks like he belongs. And most importantly, he looked comfortable behind that offensive line. He looked comfortable in throwing the football. Okay, we want to see comfortability or comfortable quarterbacks, especially when they're in the pocket. That was the one thing about the Bears and what they did with Caleb Williams. It felt like they rolled him out a bunch. Part of that could be a lack of faith in the offensive line. Part of that could be just they want him outside the pocket where he has a few more options in terms of running or throwing. So all in all, being comfortable, that's what we want to see. And then we move into J.J. McCarthy, who gives major backwards hat vibes. Not a fan of it, but he played all right. 11-17, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, which I don't love. But once again, when you're playing for Kevin O'Connell, it makes things a little bit easier. Okay? Love Kevin O'Connell. I think he's one of the better young offensive minds in the NFL. J.J. McCarthy's going to succeed just because he's playing for Kevin O'Connell, right? That's what good offensive coaches do for young quarterbacks. That's part of the stuff with Anthony Richardson, where it's like, he's playing for Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen is going to figure out ways to help him be good at football. Because Shane Steichen is one of the best offensive coaches in the NFL. I think he's the 10th best coach in the NFL, for being completely and totally honest. The other interesting thing, and if you don't believe me on that Shane Steichen note, hopefully you watched the Raiders play the Vikings. Because Aiden O'Connell, first of all, shout out to Purdue, 7-9, 76 yards, played well. And then there's Gardner Minshew, who ended up being, the primary starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts last year because Anthony Richardson couldn't stay on the field because he kept getting hurt. Sprained AC joint in the shoulder, concussion, all those things. So because he wasn't on the field, Shane Steichen was like, okay, I get to coach Gardner Minshew. That's my new starting quarterback. And while he was a completed swing pass away from making the playoffs and winning the division, okay, he was that close under Shane Steichen. He looked terrible in Las Vegas with multiple weapons. Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, okay, 2 of the best weapons that we're going to see in the NFL this year. Really excited for what Brock Bowers looks like. But Gardner Minshew with better weapons, because remember, last year here in Indy, Jonathan Taylor didn't play a ton. Josh Downs was a rookie. They brought him along slowly. The third best receiver on the team was Alec Pierce, which isn't, exactly what you want. And then Gardner Minshew, the Raiders pay him, not a ton of money, but more than, most backup quarterbacks get paid. And they gave him an opportunity to compete. And now he's no longer playing for Shane Steichen, and he looks like a true backup quarterback. So Shane Steichen, I am a big fan of his. I think he's going to consistently put Anthony Richardson in spots to succeed. But man, if you watched that preseason game yesterday, he was terribly inaccurate. Anthony Richardson was terribly inaccurate. And that is the most concerning thing. Okay. Like we've seen quarterbacks in the NFL succeed with weak arms. Just look at Tua. Okay. A dude who lit up the NFL last year. And the reason why he could do that, even though his arm's weak and even though he's not super athletic, he's really not athletic at all. He's a true pocket guy ever since, he messed up his hip. But he's able to succeed because he's highly accurate. That is, from a physical trait standpoint, that is the most important skill that you have to play quarterback in the NFL, right? Because it's all the things that you hear, right? The windows are smaller and defenders close quicker and all those important things. But if you can, stand 50 yards away from a house and hit the doorbell, it doesn't really matter how fast that defense is, man. So you can put the ball where you want it. And that is what we have to see from Anthony Richardson over the course of this year. Okay, I fully expect the first quarter of the season to be rough for Anthony Richardson. He hasn't played a ton. Okay, the dude threw 84 passes last year, only started for 1 full season at Florida. That was it. So I expect for him to struggle early in the year, be late on throws, not be incredibly accurate. But the hope is that by week 5, he's ready to go. Right, the offense is humming. He's throwing the ball on time, on target. He looks good. Okay, his pocket presence is there. Okay, like those are the things that we need to see from Anthony Richardson this year. Okay, because look, people are going to treat him like a rookie. He's not a rookie. He's a second-year player who had an entire year to sit back, watch, and learn from Shane Steichen and Gardner Minshew and these other guys. Okay, so he needs to look good, hopefully by week 5. If not, then the Colts are going to have a major problem at quarterback. Okay, even though, it's probably going to become, I think, evident a little bit sooner than that. When we come back here in about 5 minutes, thanks again for tuning into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Follow me on Twitter, watch on Twitter at __ Jonathan Smith. Follow the station as well at Ticket1430. When we come back, got more thoughts on Anthony Richardson. Backwards visor, upside down visor. Not a great look. I had some thoughts on it on Twitter last night. I was ripped to shreds over it. That's fine. People are allowed to disagree with me. That's just kind of the way that it goes. So when we come back here in about 5 minutes, Anthony Richardson, upside down, backwards visor, Colts preseason week 1. How'd they look? What'd they do well? What'd they not do well? I have all that for you coming up here in about 5 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for...
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket, hour number 2, numero uno. All that fun stuff. Hope you guys had an outstanding weekend. I know I did. Went and saw the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Had a blast watching it. I thought it was really good. Ryan Reynolds does a great job. Big Hugh Jackman guy as well. That dude, he's got some acting range right there. So did that. Bought a new book. Finished another book. Just had a blast of a weekend. And it was all topped off yesterday when I had the opportunity to sit down on my couch and watch a little Indianapolis Colts football, something we've been yearning for quite a while now, right? Really all off season. Okay, because there's nothing like the fall. There's nothing like football, right? When it's a little chilly outside, right? And you got a big bowl of chili in front of you and you're eating it and you're watching your favorite team win or lose or whatever, right? It's the best time of the year. It's my favorite time of the year. There's nothing like football season, games on every night of the week. You know, my wife, you know, when I turned it on yesterday, she was like, I am about to lose you for the next few months, aren't I? And I was like, I don't know if you're going to lose me, but, you know, I'm going to be a little busier. So anyway, sitting down, I watched the Colts game. I take, you know, various notes on everything that I saw, everything that happened. You know, let's be honest, it's preseason. It's week 1. Okay, it's the first game Anthony Richardson had played in 308 days. I wasn't going to put too much into anything really that I saw on the field because defenses are oftentimes ahead of offenses, especially earlier in the year. Okay? But I was on Twitter last night, as one is, and I'm scrolling through, you know, and I'm looking at different Colt stuff. After I form my own opinion on what happened, I like seeing what is everyone else saying. Am I on the right track? Am I at odds with the audience? And as I'm scrolling through, James Boyd, a reporter for The Athletic, you know, he videos things whenever he's at press conferences and he'll post them. He's blocked me now. I don't know why. But he posts a video of Anthony Richardson saying something. I got to be honest. I didn't watch the video. Didn't need to watch the video. Saw everything that I needed to see. And Anthony Richardson is standing there answering questions at the podium when he's representing not only himself, but the entire Indianapolis Colts organization. Standing at the podium with his visor on backwards and upside down. It's not a good look. It's not. Okay, I believe that presentation matters. I do. And whenever you're addressing people and you're representing something more than just yourself, you should look nice. Once again, presentation matters. And look, I work in radio. I get to wear whatever I want. If you're watching the stream right now, I'm in an athletic shirt and gym shorts. Okay? But here's the thing. About a month, maybe 2 months back, I had a day where I had to present some information, some stuff to our wonderful sales team here at Cumulus. If you want to advertise on the station, call them. They do a great job. They will hook you up. And on that day where I had to stand in front of people and answer questions, okay, and tell them about myself, really, I dressed way nicer. Wore a nice shirt. I wore like nice slacks. Okay, like I wanted to put my best foot forward. Okay, because I was presenting myself to important people and I wanted them to have a good, proper opinion of who I am. If I had walked into that room, you know, to present all the information that I had to present that day with a backwards hat or an upside down and backwards visor, it wouldn't have given the best impression. You'd be like, oh, this kid kind of looks like a frat kid who went to IU. That's kind of what he looks like. And that's just not the impression that you want to give off. Okay, the backwards hat, backwards visor, upside down, all those things just doesn't give off the best impression. Okay? If a 22-year-old walked into your office of work and you looked at his resume and there wasn't much on there because he's 22 years old, and he had a backwards hat on or a backwards and upside down visor, you wouldn't give him the job. You wouldn't. Okay? Because presentation matters, especially when you were the starting quarterback of an NFL franchise, when you were supposed to be the leader of the franchise. When Anthony Richardson stands at the podium, he represents not only himself, but the entire Colts organization because he's the quarterback. And is that fair? I don't know. Probably not. But that's the reality that we live in. Okay? That's just how these things work. When you have an important position, you represent everyone. And when you represent more than just yourself, you should present yourself in a proper and good manner. If he played wide receiver and he wanted to wear his visor upside down, backwards, sideways, inside out, I don't know if you can wear a visor inside out, but you get the picture. If he played wide receiver or left tackle or corner or linebacker, whatever, wherever you want, man. Okay? I wouldn't care because let's be honest, we don't really care all that much about what the non-quarterbacks have to say. Okay, just look at Brandon Ayuk. Dude's been asking for a new contract for a while, and if you turn on, ESPN or Fox Sports or wherever you like to consume your sports, and they'll mention it like, yeah, he deserves an extension, but it didn't become real news. People didn't start to really care until he demanded a trade. Quarterbacks, that's not how it works. Everything that you say matters because you represent everybody. And I believe that when you're at the podium and you know that you're about to answer questions not only about yourself, but about your team as a whole, you should present yourself in a proper manner. You should put your best foot forward. And I just don't believe that an upside down and backwards visor is proper. I don't think that's putting your best foot forward. I don't think that. And when it comes to, just everyday life, like if you want to go out to the garage in downtown Indy and have a good time, wear your visor however you want, man. Okay, you're off the clock. You're not answering questions about yourself and other people, whatever. Like during the game, when he was pulled over for a little sideline interview, he was wearing his visor the exact same way. Had no issue with it. It's like, it's the game. It's like you're at the game. You're involved. Okay, you're probably holding on to, the Windows tablet thing, going through plays, right? Trying to learn. Like in that environment, wear your visor however you want. Wear your visor however you want. But when you're about to address people and you're representing more than just yourself, just put it on straight. It's 5 minutes. Okay? I'm not asking for a lot here. Okay? And I tweeted this out last night because, I'm an opinionated person and I like to send my opinions out and, onto the internet. And let's, to put it politely, people didn't like it. And that's fine. You don't have to agree with everything that I say. But I noticed in the comments, people were responding with photos of other quarterbacks who have put their hat on backwards or the upside down backwards visor. Saw several photos. And they're like, what about this guy? One of them is Patrick Mahomes. I will make you a deal. If Anthony Richardson wins 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, he can wear his visor however he wants to, wherever he wants to. Okay? So like there was a photo of Patrick Mahomes, and then someone sent me a photo of Tom Brady, backwards hat. Hey, man, if Anthony Richardson wins 7 Super Bowls, more than any other NFL franchise, then he can wear his visor however he wants, wherever he wants, and I won't say a word about it. Okay? Someone sent me a photo of Matthew Stafford. It's like Matthew Stafford was awesome for a long time in Detroit. And as soon as he got out of there to a proper organization that surrounded him with talent, he went and won a Super Bowl. He can wear his hat however he wants. Okay? Because there are different rules for different people. The 22-year-old, it's his, who's in his second year at your office, he doesn't get away with as much as the, 50-year-old who's been there for 20 years and has been wildly successful. Okay? Because success buys you rope. It buys you leeway. For example, my boss, obviously he hired me, to get on the radio and say different things and have takes and have big opinions. Right? So I walked into his office. I can tell you right now, if I walked into that room with a backwards hat on, he would not have hired me. I know he wouldn't have because I asked him beforehand. So if me, a 24-year-old, walks into an office, asks for a job, in radio with a backwards hat on, I'm going to be told no. What if, Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith, any one of these wildly successful ESPN FS1 people, if they showed up here, Jim Rome with CBS Sports, if they showed up here and they walked into my boss's office, in a tank top, sunglasses, and a backwards hat, and they asked for a job, my boss would say, yes, we would love to give you a spot. You know why? Because they're well established and have clearly shown that they're elite at their profession. Okay, when you're younger and you haven't proved anything, you don't get away with as much. You just don't. And in those moments especially, you should be all about whatever it is that you're doing. For right now, Anthony Richardson, it should be all about playing football. That's what it should be about. Okay? And look, when it comes to playing football, Anthony Richardson did that yesterday, and he didn't do a very good job. He didn't. He didn't play very well yesterday. Okay, the Colts played their first preseason game yesterday, and we saw Anthony Richardson for 2 drives, only played 7 plays, threw the ball 4 times. He completed 2 of them for 25 yards. We didn't see a ton. Okay, there was some good, there was some bad. Okay, I thought he learned. I thought he made adjustments on his way through. First drive, 2nd and 8. The Broncos send a blitz. Anthony Richardson didn't identify it. Free rusher, incomplete pass. Later, Broncos throw the same blitz at him. He identifies it, calls it out. Offensive line slides, and he has a good pocket to throw the football in, right? So we saw some good things. When he scrambled, he got out of bounds. That's huge. I think that is a thing that every Colts fan wanted to see. Right, so like I said, there were some good things. I thought that the completion to Mo Alley Cox looked good, but there was also some bad, which is okay. Anthony Richardson hasn't played a football game, or he hadn't played a football game in 308 days. Right, that first possession, though, uglier than Jabba the Hutt. Not great. Jonathan Taylor ran for 2 yards. Then Anthony Richardson didn't identify a blitz. He gets smacked, incomplete pass. Then on 3rd down, with plenty of time to throw, I thought that the limited action that we saw from the Colts starting offensive line, I thought that they looked good. 3rd down, 3rd and 8, 3rd and got to throw it. The defense knows that you're about to air it out. Anthony Richardson drops back, has a beautiful pocket, steps up, has a guy kind of open, to throw that a starting NFL quarterback should make, to throw that a franchise quarterback should make, and he didn't make it. It should have been picked off. The Denver Broncos defender simply dropped it. Okay, and then that's it. 3 and out. Colts come off the field. I'm like, geez, that didn't look very good. Then, Shane Steichen's like, 1 more possession. You guys only got to play 3 plays. So, they run him out there. Second possession looked a lot better. Then again, when you only gain 2 yards on your first possession and go 0 of 2 throwing the ball, you can only go up from that point. So, second possession, he comes out. They're backed up deep. He has a nice little completion to Mo Alley Cox for a first down. Right? It's like, all right, here we go. Maybe he's got some rhythm now. Like I said earlier, he looks comfortable when he's in the pocket. That's one of the most important things that I'm looking for whenever I watch these young quarterbacks. Because if you aren't comfortable, you're not going to play well. Okay? If you're not comfortable at your job, you're probably not going to perform very well. Okay? That's any job, any profession. Right? So he makes that throw. I'm like, all right, here we go. Maybe he's got a little bit of a rhythm here. And then, the next few plays weren't great. 3rd and 8 again. He's a little late finding Granson running across the middle, throws it a bit behind him. He slows down. He winds up coming a yard short of the first down. The slight inaccuracy costed them a first down. Like I said, there was some good and there was some bad, but it was mostly bad. Okay, I want Anthony Richardson to get more live reps. I think the joint practices with the Cardinals this week, I believe that's who it's with. That's going to be good for Richardson to play against a defense that's not the Indianapolis Colts, because that Indianapolis Colts defense, especially that secondary, is horrendously bad. It's terrible. Okay, and I thought that was on display yesterday. I've got more thoughts on that Colts defense and the rest of this Colts team, honestly, when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
More winners, more often. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, whether that's live on the radio, 1430 AM if you're in the Indianapolis area. Maybe you're watching on Twitter. Follow me there at _ Jonathan Smith. Okay, you can watch the live stream there as well. Follow the station at Ticket 1430, or you can watch the best way possible on YouTube. Indy's Sports Ticket. Head over there, subscribe, join the chat, join the conversation. If you disagree with my take, join it. Let me hear about it. I'm all here for it. Let's go. This is the beauty of sports talk. We can debate stuff, and it's awesome. It's one of the best aspects of it. You can also text our text line at 317-228-1430. Now that I'm done with Anthony Richardson, I'd like to transfer to the rest of the Indianapolis Colts and preseason week 1 and all of the things that we saw from them. And I thought that there were a lot of positives. I really did. Okay, now let's start on the defensive side of the ball. Look, I'm not Chris Ballard's biggest fan. I think he does a lot of things wrong, but, you can be bad at your job. Hasn't won a division title, and, ever since he's been here, it's been 8 years. Hasn't hosted a home playoff game. And, you can be bad at your job, but still do different things well. And I think Chris Ballard has done a good job of shoring up the defensive line, which isn't a surprise because this is something that he preaches. Okay, when Ibukam tore his Achilles, you would have thought all hell broke loose here in Indianapolis. And, I figured it'd be fine because Chris Ballard has done a good job. He's been hyper conscious of the importance of the depth on the defensive line. Okay, you can't just go pick up a good defensive lineman in free agency like you can a running back or, a wide receiver. Okay, you better make sure you've got a deep stable of pass rushers, and the Colts do. And I thought that we saw that on display yesterday. I thought that the defensive line did a great job generating pressure, especially Tyquan Lewis. Leatu Latu already seeing double and triple teams as a rookie in his first preseason game. The dude is going to be a problem. He's built different, as the kids say. Okay, it's giving franchise pass rusher. The kids also say that. So I thought that the defensive line looked good. I thought that when Grover Stewart was on the field, the defensive tackles looked so much better. Okay, that is definitely an area of concern for the Colts. Raekwon Davis has got to be on the field. Grover Stewart has got to be on the field. DeForest Buckner has got to be on the field. Okay, because the Colts are really thin at that defensive tackle spot. When they pulled, Grover and, the other starting defensive tackle, it was not good. The Broncos ran the football all over the place. These backup defensive tackles struggled mightily, to say the least. Okay, so, when we talk about the success of the Colts, obviously there's a lot of concern around Anthony Richardson. He has to play well. He has to stay healthy. So do the defensive tackles for the Indianapolis Colts, because that run defense is horrendously bad when they aren't in there. Okay, so Davis, Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner have to stay healthy because these backup defensive tackles didn't play very well yesterday. Okay, moving to the secondary, which has been a major area of concern. Okay, let's be honest. I think that Colts fans pretty confident in the defensive line. Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, there's confidence there. Those are good, solid players. But the back end of the defense, I feel like I've been leading the charge, yelling for Justin Simmons, go get him. He's just sitting out there. Okay. And the other concern is who's going to play corner opposite of Juju Brents, who didn't play yesterday. So we got a good look at both Dallas Flowers and Jalen Jones, the two guys that are battling it out for that position, for that cornerback 2 slot. I thought Dallas Flowers looked terrible. I thought he was constantly in pursuit of whoever he was guarding. Felt like he couldn't guard a cone. Okay, he looked like Buddy Hield trying to play defense out there. Couldn't guard anybody. It was rough. It was not a good look. And then Jalen Jones, I thought he played well. I thought he looked way better than Dallas Flowers, staying attached to receivers, had a couple good pass breakups. Like, he looked, I thought, way better than Dallas Flowers. And, look, there's 2 preseason games left. They're heading into joint practices this week with the Cardinals. Like, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for one of those 2 guys to separate themselves from the other, right? And as of yesterday, it looks like Jalen Jones is kind of in the process of doing that. Looking at the free safety spot, I'm going to continue to yell for Justin Simmons because Justin Simmons is one of the best free safeties in the NFL. That being said, Nick Cross yesterday, a guy I've been hard on, a guy that I know many people have ripped after he hurt Josh Downs. I didn't think he was that bad yesterday. Okay, I thought he did a good job. You're like, well, Jonathan, he gave up a touchdown. The touchdown that he gave up, player goes in motion. He's yelling at the corner to switch with him. Corner didn't switch with him. And so not entirely his fault. That's one of those defensive communication things that'll get ironed out over the next couple weeks before the regular season actually starts. So I didn't think Nick Cross was terrible. Once again, like that touchdown he gave up, I didn't really think was his fault. And then Micah Abraham popped. He popped. Okay, backup slot corner to Kenny Moore, who I thought played well yesterday as well. I just, like, you have to have guys that make plays, which is, a very simple thing. And the strip, fumble recovery, touchdown, couple different pass breakups. Micah Abraham played really well. Rookie, late round selection. I thought he looked good. Lock him in as the backup slot corner behind Kenny Moore. I thought he really looked that good. Moving to other NFL preseason things that I saw. I want to start with Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick. Made his NFL preseason debut in the Bears' second preseason game, taking on the Buffalo Bills. He looked good. He looked confident, throwing the ball on time, on target. It's like, well, Jonathan, he was 4 of 7, so was he really on target? Yes, he was. 2 drops, one by Cole Kmet, starting tight end, and one by DJ Moore. Okay, he looked good. He really should have been like 6 of 7 for 130 yards or something like that. Okay, he looked awesome. Okay, clearly has the goods, clearly has everything that you want your franchise quarterback to have. Arm strength, accuracy, standing firm in the pocket. Okay, he looked awesome. And I remember when the draft came around, people yelling at me, what? The Bears should roll with Justin Fields. No, they shouldn't. Come on now. Did you see Justin Fields in that Steelers game, in that Steelers preseason game against the Texans? Multiple botched snaps, couple of really bad sacks. But, great. He made a couple decent throws. Congratulations. Okay. He's not the guy. I feel really bad for Pittsburgh because I got to choose between him and Russell Wilson. Not the situation that you want to be in. And I do think that comparing and contrasting Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, I do think that the difference was that Caleb Williams looked incredibly comfortable. Okay, they didn't ask him to be under center too much. He was a little bit, right? But they didn't ask him to do anything too crazy. He looked very comfortable within that Bears offense. While Justin Fields didn't look comfortable at all. Botch snaps, bad sacks. He didn't look very good. Kind of had some happy feet, left the pocket early a couple times. Okay, and that is a sign of an uncomfortable quarterback. And when we're looking at young guys, whether it's rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback, you want them to be comfortable. It's hard to be good at anything if you aren't comfortable. Okay, like I've been doing, I've been hosting this show for 6-ish months, something like that. I've come a long way from the first show that I hosted. If you go back and you listen to it, I'm stuttering and my voice is a little shaky. It's not super full because I was nervous. I wasn't comfortable behind a microphone. Right? And to be good at anything, any job, whether it's sports talk, playing quarterback in the NFL, maybe you're in sales, whatever it is, you have to be comfortable. It is hard to find success if you aren't comfortable. And when I watched Justin Fields in that Pittsburgh Steelers offense, then again, it's one game. Okay, he may come back preseason week 2 and look a hell of a lot better. It's very possible. But week 1, he didn't look comfortable. And that has to change if he's going to find any sort of success whatsoever. Looking at some of the other rookie quarterbacks, I thought Jaden Daniels very much looked the part. I really thought he did. Okay, he didn't play a ton for the Commanders played I believe just one possession. He was 2 for 3, right? Hit a nice long throw down the sideline, had a rushing touchdown. He looked comfortable in that Washington Commanders offense, behind that offensive line. Then again, when you run like a 4-2 or whatever he runs, like there's faith and confidence that you can run and get outside of anybody. That makes it a little bit easier. But he looked comfortable, and he threw the ball on time. He threw it on target. And again, once again, he only threw it 3 times, but in the very small sample size that we saw from him, he looked good. He looked like an NFL quarterback. And that is the thing about Anthony Richardson that I do find encouraging. Okay, he wasn't, snapping the ball and then like running out of the pocket immediately. He wanted to stay in the pocket. He looked comfortable. Okay, his, feet weren't, happy all over the place. Okay, like he stood in the pocket and he looked comfortable. And that is a Shane Steichen type thing. Okay, I think that, when we look at quarterbacks across the league, especially young guys, who your coordinator is and who is calling plays for you is highly, highly important. Okay, now there are some players, it doesn't matter because they're so uber talented that they can overcome, whoever is calling plays. For example, Caleb Williams, I don't really think it matters who his offensive coordinator is. He's so gifted that he's going to succeed. But when it comes to someone like Anthony Richardson, who's not super accurate, like you need to have an offensive play caller. For the Colts, it's Shane Steichen, the 10th best coach in the NFL. Like you need to have an offensive play caller that can elevate your quarterback, right? And if you don't believe that Shane Steichen elevates quarterbacks, just go look at Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is going to be Aiden O'Connell's backup in Las Vegas. Come on now. The Raiders sat back last year. They watched Gardner Minshew almost lead this Colts team not only to the playoffs, but to a division title. He makes one accurate swing pass. They win the division. They're in the playoffs. They're hosting a home playoff game. We all rejoice. It would have been awesome. But, he didn't make the throw. But the Raiders sat back last year. They're like, Gardner Minshew, man, like looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. And now they've taken him and they've put him in this new offense. They've taken him away from Shane Steichen, and all of a sudden he looks like a backup. That's what he looked like against the Vikings. Meanwhile, J.J. McCarthy on the other side, who'd never taken an NFL snap before, his offensive play caller, Kevin O'Connell, one of the great young offensive minds in the NFL. It feels like they're just everywhere now. You look across the sideline, and it's like, oh, this rookie, he played way better. He outplayed Gardner Minshew because Kevin O'Connell is his head coach. Okay, who your play caller is and having an offensive play caller that knows how to play to your strengths is highly important for any quarterback, just in general. Okay, and it's important especially for young quarterbacks. Okay, so I'm very interested to see how Anthony Richardson develops this year. I'm interested to see his next press conference. I want to see if he wears the upside down backwards visor. I'm gonna be a menace if he doesn't. I can tell you that right now. I can tell you that right now. So anyway, as I was saying, Shane Steichen is going to help bring along Anthony Richardson. And it's to a point where there might be kind of a Brock Purdy thing, where when I look at Brock Purdy and the success that he's had, I raise this question of, is it because of Brock Purdy or is it because of Kyle Shanahan? Okay, because let's be honest, Purdy not physically imposing, doesn't have any outlier traits. I saw Kyle Shanahan have, be such a great coach that he got Jimmy Garoppolo to lead his 49ers team to the Super Bowl. Okay. And I'm kind of curious if we're going to have kind of a similar thing here with Anthony Richardson, where it's like, yeah, he's looked good, but like early, like he didn't look very good. Like how much of this is him and how much of this is Shane Steichen? I know that is a question that I'm 1,000% going to wrestle with. Okay, because like I said, I've been critical of Chris Ballard. I'll probably continue to be so. But he's gotten the defensive line depth right, and he got the coach right. Shane Steichen can flat out coach, and I'm interested to see how he develops Anthony Richardson throughout the rest of the season. Okay, the first 4 weeks, I think they're going to be rough because Anthony Richardson just hasn't played a ton of football. Played one full season at Florida, played 12 quarters last year. Okay, so the first month of the season is going to be rough. I'm preparing you guys now. But hopefully, by week 5, week 6, week 7, he turns a corner to a point where the Colts can actually rely on him down the stretch. I know I said I'm out on Anthony Richardson. I hope I'm wrong for what it's worth. I want him to be good. I want the Colts to be good. But, I just think he should present himself a little bit better when he's at the podium. Maybe no more backwards and upside down visors. I don't know. Just a thought. I've got more thoughts on Team USA, Steph Curry being unbelievable. Okay, there's a very interesting thing about these Olympics when it comes to Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. And I'm going to get into that when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Often imitated, never duplicated. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Tickets, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hope you guys are having just a great Monday. I know I am. Great Monday, great weekend, saw a good movie, picked up a new book that I'm really enjoying, got some tweets off, saw some backwards and upside down visors. It was great. Had a great time. Also had a great time because Saturday, I got to sit on the couch and I got to watch some hoops. Steph Curry, man. Unbelievable. Just simply incredible. Okay. Like when we think back on these Olympics and we think back on the 2024 Paris Olympics, we are going to remember this basketball team. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. Okay, 3 of the 15 best players to ever pick up a basketball. And let's be honest, LeBron James was great through the whole thing. Kevin Durant was pretty good, but Steph Curry got off to an atrocious start. He did. He really did. Okay, when Team USA needed him the most, though, he showed up. He was horrific to start the Olympics. Okay, in the first 4 games, he scored 29 points on 5 of 20 shooting from 3. It's not very good. Doesn't exactly live up to the name of best 3-point shooter ever. Doesn't live up to that at all. Then, in a semifinal game against Serbia, he goes absolutely nuts. He was the only consistent offense that Team USA had for 3.5 quarters, and then Kevin Durant shows up and scores 7 points in the 4th, including the dagger. Then, gold medal game, he puts the nail in the coffin that was France. Okay, four straight threes in like the final 2 minutes. An absurd sidestep fadeaway 3 over 2 defenders to put the official dagger in the French. Meanwhile, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, wide open. Nobody within 15 feet of them. But Steph was like, nah, man, watch this. Money. See you later, France. The gold is ours. And that's who he is. And I've had a blast really watching these last 2 Team USA games against Serbia and against France. Part of that is the games have been awesome. But the other thing is, like, it's really cool for me to watch the 3 best basketball players of this current generation share the floor together. Okay, watching, Kevin Durant and Steph Curry and LeBron James share the floor is just, it's really cool. Even if you don't like those guys for whatever reason. Okay, like it was so just awesome to watch. And as I was watching and as I've kind of reflected on this run, there is something really cool. I think that all 3 of their Olympic performances very much reflect the careers that they've had. When I look at Kevin Durant, and when we look back in 15 years on this Olympics, we're going to remember 2 things about Kevin Durant. We're going to remember that he closed out Serbia with great isolation scoring, and we're going to remember that he became the all-time USA basketball leading scorer, for men or women's. His Olympic run was all about his ability to score the basketball. And when we look at his NBA career, sure, we're going to remember him leaving Oklahoma City to go team up with Steph and the Golden State Warriors. We're going to remember him then leaving that place to go play for the Nets and how horrific that whole experiment went. And then we're going to remember him leaving the Nets to go play for Phoenix and how he got swept in the first round. We're going to remember all that, right? Whenever you're talking to your buddies over beer, you're going to say all that. They're going to be like, but man, that dude could get some buckets. And that is very much how I felt watching Team USA and watching Kevin Durant play basketball. It's like, geez, this dude can get buckets however he wants. Okay, and then you have Steph Curry, who just always seems to get hot at the right time and in the biggest games and in the biggest moments. Okay, when we look back on this Olympics, we're not going to remember how awful he was through the first 4 games. We're not going to remember that he couldn't buy a bucket for forever. Right? Then, on a court filled with future Hall of Famers. Okay, because this Team USA team is going to have several. He was double teamed. LeBron James and Kevin Durant are on the court, and France is leaving those guys to go double Stephen Curry. Okay, he was on fire at the right time against Serbia. He was on fire at the right time against France. Okay, just like he's been 4 times in the NBA Finals, just like he has multiple times throughout his playoff history. Right? You guys remember Game 6 against the Rockets where he doesn't score a point in the first half, and I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, geez, because I love Steph. Got a lot of property on Steph Island. Have had it for a long time. He doesn't score a point in the first half. I'm like, gosh, dang it, man. Here we go. And then second half, he scores like 36. Just goes absolutely nuts. Like, that's just kind of who he is, and that's how he's going to be remembered. Right? And when we look at how he's played in the Olympics, that kind of checks that box. Yeah, a few bad games here and there. But, man, when they needed him to shoot the ball well, he did. And then we come to LeBron James, who was consistently great in every game that they played. Okay, before it was one and done, so in pool play, LeBron James was great. Dominated every game. Against Serbia, triple-double, played great. Against France, he once again, gold medal game, was great for the entire 32 minutes that he was on the floor. 14 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds. Consistently great. That is what LeBron James was throughout these Olympics. But he didn't have a moment. There's no memorable moment from LeBron James in these Olympics. He was just great every second that he was out on the floor. And when we look at his career, that's what he's been. Consistently great. Every minute he's been on the floor for his entire career. Okay, there's no stick-out moment. When we look at LeBron's career, there's one moment that is entrenched in our memory. And it's the block on Iguodala in 2016, the crazy chase down. Okay? And that is one of the things that I think kind of separates him and Michael Jordan. I think part of why LeBron James will never be remembered as the GOAT is because he just doesn't have that many memorable moments, which you could argue is dumb, but that's just the reality of it. When we look at Michael Jordan, he's got the shot against Cleveland where he hits it and he's fist pumping like crazy. Okay, his final shot as a Chicago Bull, step back, don't slip, jumper, money, NBA Finals, over, give him ring number 6. Okay, like LeBron James, he just doesn't have that. And that's part of why he won't be remembered as the GOAT. Okay, and maybe that's wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's right. That's just an observation that I've made. And when we look back on these Olympics, the main stories are going to be Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, even though LeBron James was the best player on this team through the entire Olympics. In 15 years, when you're hanging out with your buddies, and they're like, hey, do you guys remember 2024? The Olympics? Oh, man. Steph Curry, crazy, right? Those last 2 games, wasn't that awesome? Hey, do you guys remember that isolation jump shot that Kevin Durant hit to put away Serbia? Do you guys remember that? And everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, that was awesome. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, they were so great. Kevin Durant became the all-time leading Team USA scorer, and, on and on and on. It's going to be all about those 2 guys. And meanwhile, LeBron James is just going to have been the best player on this team. But because there's a lack of signature moments during this Olympic run, it's not going to be remembered as well as what Steph Curry and Kevin Durant did. I think very much like LeBron James's career. We're going to look back and we're going to be like, yeah, he was great. But what about the signature moments? The block, and that's it. Nothing wrong with that. He's been great for the last, 20 plus years. And he's going to continue to be. I'm excited to see what the Lakers look like. I also think that when we look back at these 2024 Olympics, it's going to be remembered as this kind of leaping off point for the future face of the NBA. I know everyone thinks that it's going to be Anthony Edwards. I'm telling you right now, it's not. The future face of the NBA is right in front of us, and it's Anthony Edwards. Not Anthony Edwards. It's Victor Wembanyama. Okay, we're going to look back at these 2024 Olympics, and we're going to be like, geez, it was so clear that he was going to be the future. right? I don't know how much France you watched during the Olympics. I watched a fairly decent amount. And man, he's on another level. Okay. And I've watched him a lot over these past few years, or over this last year, excuse me, just when he was playing with the Spurs. And, look, he's already the best defender in the world. I thought that was on full display during the gold medal game. He didn't have any blocks, but he deterred several shots just because of his size and his length and his ability to close out and do all these freakish things, right? That's why he's called the alien. Okay, because he's an absolute freak. Dudes that are that tall and that long shouldn't move the way that he does. And so, the defense you can already see. And then offensively, it's up and down. It is. But look, he scored 26 points on 11 of 19 shooting in that gold medal game. He was France's best player. He also had 7 rebounds. Okay, he hit threes. He finished at the rim. He did everything for that France team. He was great. He couldn't have played much better. Okay, and if he had played better, then France would probably have the gold medal. I do think the thing that's going to last from this, though, was Wemby's reaction after they lost. He cried. Victor Wembanyama cried after they lost. That only happens when you think you're going to win. Okay? Like, when you expect to lose, when you think you're not going to win, like, you lose and you're just like, yeah, it's kind of what I thought would happen. But when you cry afterwards, it's brutal. And it shows that you care. It shows that you are invested in what you're doing. And just through watching Wemby, during his time with the Spurs and listening to interviews, he's definitely not a backwards hat guy. He's very much involved, very much engaged in everything that's happening. And he clearly wants to be a great player. And he's clearly going to put the work in to do that. Now, I am not a fan of these NBA player podcasts. I'm not. I don't think they really offer that much in terms of insight. They just really kind of say a bunch of nonsense. But there are tidbits here and there that I like to hear. And I've heard multiple NBA players go on podcasts, whether it's Draymond Green's, Paul George's, whoever. I've heard multiple NBA guys go on these podcasts and say that there are players in the league who are just collecting a check. Okay, they're just playing during the season, and that's really it. And look, there are plenty of people in the world outside of basketball and, the real workforce. Like, there are professionals in other sports and careers that do the same thing. They do the bare minimum, they collect their check, and then they go home. And that's, a fine way to live your life, but you're never going to be great if you do that. And when I look at Wemby, that's not the kind of guy he is. That's not the kind of guy he is. Hey, this is very much a dude who's going to work hard and press through and come back better next year. I'm excited. I'm excited for the Spurs. They got a decent little nucleus of young talent. Chris Paul going to play there. This should be a lot of fun to watch this next year. Hopefully they win, because I want to see Wemby in the playoffs, man, because he's an absolute monster. Last thing before I take off and I pass the microphone over to Dan Dockich, noon to 3. You can listen to his show live on the radio, 14:30 a.m., or you can download that Indy Sports Ticket app wherever you download your apps. Tyrese Halliburton didn't play a lot. It was later released. I think it was Windhorst who had the report that he apparently re-aggravated some leg injury, probably his hamstring, and that's part of why he didn't play. I mean, it happens. Okay, he could have aggravated his hamstring working out in LA. Okay, he didn't play. He was able to rest it. He had a good time. I'm sure he learned a ton. Okay, because even though he didn't play in the actual games, he still practiced against LeBron James, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, all these great NBA players. He played against them, which probably helped him more than anything else. Okay, so he'll be fine before the season starts. We've got a decent amount of time. So I can't wait for Pacers basketball. Starts up here in about 2 months. That's right. I'm one of the weird guys who watches basketball games in October. It doesn't take precedent over football, though. The Dan Dockich Show, coming your way next. I'm sure he's going to have many thoughts on the Colts. The Power Hour should be happening today, 2 o'clock. Kent Sterling, Dan Dockich, all that is going down. If you're new to the show, hi, Jonathan. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you'll come back. Once again, head over to YouTube, Indies Sports Ticket, like, subscribe, do all those things, join the chat, join the conversation. Okay, you can also follow me on Twitter at __ Jonathan Smith. You can watch the live stream there as well. Anthony Richardson, I'm so excited for his next press conference. I want to see if he wears a hat. I want to see how he wears it. I'm really intrigued. I really, really am, because, it says something about you when you wear your hat that way, when you're representing something bigger than yourself. That was really the last thing. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back on the air again tomorrow from noon to 3. Thank you again for tuning in, listening. Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts is set to join me at 11 o'clock tomorrow. He's always a blast to have on. Love having him. I'm sure we'll talk more Anthony Richardson in the backwards and upside down visor. But the Dan Docker Show coming your way next here in about 5 minutes.